Well, Leo is a fire sign and the heat is on. I am just finished up 5 days of visiting with my grandchild and granddaughter, actually, and it was delightful to meet her. She's a little Aquarius, born 4 days before I was, and has Aries rising and a Gemini moon. And her expressions have just been marvelous and wonderful. Anyway, I was I had already initiated the process of replacing the tiles on the roof of the dome that I live in, built by my parents back in 1981, and doing some repair work on what's underneath those shingles, because it didn't always keep the water out as effectively as it might have been hoped to. And I'm back in that again. And it's warm out today. It got up to 87 degrees at one point. I finally made the call that it was just too hot to be out working on the roof. And so I want to basically just look at a couple of factors as far as this week goes. One is on Tuesday. Let's get a chart up so we can see what we're talking about. So here's Tuesday. What do we have going on with Tuesday? We have a nice little square aspect between Mercury over here in Leo, racing its way through Leo, and Mars taking its time, as Mars may occasionally want to do, through Taurus. And you can also see that the Moon and Venus are also doing a dance, and this is for tomorrow. I'm getting this done later on Monday while I'm letting it cool down a little bit out there, so I can go back out and continue the process of putting the roof back together in a fashion that will hopefully last for another 30 years. So, Mercury. How we think, how we communicate in the sign of Leo. Last week I probably went a little overboard with the amount of energy that Leo was bringing, but hey, that's just exactly what it was doing for me. That feeling is Mercury. It wants to take chances here in Leo, and the chances are, and what does it want to project out there as far as its mental capacities and its vocal inclinations, we'll call them. In a square with Mars over in Taurus, perhaps something to keep in mind, because this is a square after all, is that Mars in the sign of Taurus, or the foundation of this planet, Mother Earth, that we live on, is being energized by Mars, because that's what Mars does. It energizes things. And this square between that awareness of what is the value of this planet that we live on, and in square to Mercury wanting to project out words or thoughts into the larger matrix of what it is that's going on around us. It's a square, so perhaps just some caution as to maybe the audience. Do you sense, is the audience that you have available to you when these thoughts and words feel like they want to express themselves, ready to accept it? Well, from a Leonian perspective, that doesn't really matter. It's more the idea of What's the feedback going to be? Well, with this Mars square Mercury signature, I still would have to emphasize, test the waters before you get too far carried away with the energy of what is going to transpire. And on this day, speaking of others, Venus, as the ruler of Libra, in the house of home, Cancer, along with the moon, the ruler of the house of home, Cancer, and that sign, there's the possibility, if we wanted to throw into this consideration of what is it that our thoughts and words might be inclined toward right now, and might there be something that pertains to our family, to our home, to our clan, as the potential of being that audience that that you're working with. Just something to think about, because it is conceivable that that is the kind of energy. And this is Tuesday. Tuesday is a Mars day. And Mars's energy, you know, while not necessarily overly amped in Taurus, it's still Mars. There's always an action component that is present whenever Mars is in the mix. 2 days later, on the 28th, we've got a couple other things happening. The next new moon, which will happen at the 5 degrees of Leo, and Mercury is actually going to be forming its exact square with Uranus over here as well in Taurus. Let's do the Mercury thing first. We're still, you know, the cautionary factor that I was playing up before with the Mars-Mercury square may not be as easily contained when we have Uranus in that square with Mercury, because, you know, Uranus it's an energy that leans toward the unexpected. So might there be unexpected things that would leap off your tongue in this Leo time of year? Possibly. Or, you know, might there be unexpected ramifications coming back to you from those who happen to have opened their ears to hear those words that you offered, you know? It can go, you know, a couple of different ways, but I would be more inclined to pay a little less attention to those that, you know, abruptly want to challenge what it is that you say, and listen more to those that are, you know, perhaps inspired to give voice from their own perspectives in relationship to what it is that is transpiring. And it is a new moon, you know. There's a time to set intentions for what this next cycle is going to be about. Looking real quickly at the Sabian symbol from Dane Rudger's An Astrological Mandala book, what he has to say about this particular degree, I think you might find kind of interesting. And, you know, each of us is going to play it in a way that's appropriate for us. But this is something to keep in mind as you set your intentions for what this next lunar cycle might unfold for you, for us. A conservative, old-fashioned lady is confronted by a hippie girl. The keynote, the need to transcend our subservience to fashion in morals as well as in clothes. This refers to the ever-changing pageant of social values as ideals of human relationship succeed one another, one generation facing in the next an antithetic picture of what it has been brought up to consider worthwhile and decent. The confrontation may lead to great bitterness, yet it should show us the impermanence of most of what society impresses upon our collective mentality. Here we are dealing with, with cultural values and the emotional impact they have upon our character formation. Whereas the first degree of Leo dealt with an individual crisis of reorientation, this degree refers to a collective, cultural, and social crisis which challenges us to realize the relativity of social values. So as this Thursday comes around, which is a Jupiter day, by the way, and we're, considering what might be the most appropriate way to aim our intentions for this next lunar cycle in a way that will bring about, opportunities for change. That's what's being talked about in that Sabian symbol, that, we may be really comfortable with what has been, but perhaps there's a new wind blowing, and it's bringing along with it an observance of something that probably isn't even remotely what it is that we're most comfortable with. Remember, we're in the season of Leo, a season of taking chances. If you're not comfortable with what you perceive as the latest garb, which is only one avenue of cultural, social change to pay attention to, but more along the lines, since we're in Leo, is what are the factors that are in play right now that are seeking to express themselves in a unique fashion. And this goes along quite easily with that Mercury-Uranus square that's taking place on this same day. There's, perhaps there is a little discomfort in some of the potential changes we see. So try something on with those close to you or at home and in a area, and check the mirror out, record your voice and see what it sounds like. See if what you say has pertinence in a different way than usual, because this is the kind of energy that this Jupiterian Thursday is bringing up for us to kind of go, maybe some of the seemingly stuck ways that I have been attempting to accomplish what it is I want to in this world are up for some reconsideration. And Jupiter, on a Jupiter day in Aries, the sign of Mars rulership, which is also in the air this week, is not going to say, oh, take the road less traveled. Be careful. This is Jupiter. Jupiter, it wants to expand everything it touches. And this Jupiterian Thursday energy is saying to this new moon and this square between Mercury and Uranus, don't think small. Don't belittle yourself or others for the options that they choose. There's a machination of energies that's at work right now that's seeking something dynamic, something fresh to put in an appearance. And wouldn't you want to be a part of that? Yeah, taking chances. Because something new moon, is trying to get your attention, trying to get our attention in unique fashions. So pay attention to that dynamic energy that's at work. And when I looked at the week, essentially the next aspects that I saw were on Sunday. I'm just going to go through this week really quick because it's hot up here in my office, which is the bedroom, and it's upstairs in the dome. It's 84 degrees outside, so it's cooled off 3 degrees. On this day, we have the sun forming a trine to, yes, that is Jupiter. There's that energy that I was hinting at just a little bit ago. When the sun in trine to Jupiter across these fire elements of Aries and Leo it's doing that same thing, and it's beckoning us, don't think small when you take your chances right now. Be adventurous. On this same day, we have Mercury opposing, it did it earlier in the morning, but opposing Saturn. Perhaps there are things that we have recently been talking about that, generally an opposition is there's a tension in the air. And this tension in the air that runs across the Aquarius Leo axis is between Mercury, inspired to take chances and speak its mind, and Saturn, which is the ruler of Aquarius, in Aquarius, which normally say, you want to be cautious about, what the rules say and stuff. And I go hooey to that. This is Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, in Aquarius, the sign it rules. And Aquarius is, there's an avant-garde eccentricity that's always in the air when you get that Aquarian flavor in the mix. So as far as rules and regulations go, maybe they're not as confining or strict as we may have been inclined to interpret them up to this point. Take chances. One of the things about rules and regulations is, they may work well for a while, for a season or reason, but as we move on through life, change transpires. And in order to keep your heads above water, I think that the rules and regulations are due for some alteration as well, so that we do not take a heavy club to the newness that's coming over that eastern horizon and the bump, stop it in its tracks, and before it is even allowed to permeate even the utmost outer layers of us, seeking for that newness to transpire in what it is that we might do simply and as companions with one another. And Uranus. On this day, Uranus comes dancing along right onto the north node of the moon. What does destiny hold for us in this time of Uranus, the unexpected energy whose function is to attempt in whatever way it can to awaken us to something new? And the north node of the moon is always right on that edge of, turning the page to what is next and what might be new that is coming over that horizon, that this Uranus energy is saying, yeah, take your chances, go with it. Don't hold yourself back. Don't become a stick in the mud. Be creative. Live in this moment. Life is beckoning your participation. Anyway, just a short note for today. That's all I'm going to offer for this week. We're in Leo season. It's a time of experimentation. So until next week, experiment. Set that intention for what might transpire during this next month to be experimental. I have a suspicion that if we do this, what we will come around to for the next new moon in Virgo is by then, we will not be the same people that we are today. So enjoy it. Don't hold back. See that new thing coming over the eastern horizon and welcome it with open arms. And it may not necessarily be easy. Sometimes change is not. But stick with it. Compare notes with your friends. We're in for, some adventure this month. So let's do the dance together. Thanks, and I will see you all next week.